Hey, what's the word, players? I'm going to talk about John 6 in a little bit, but I actually want to start off by talking about the Metal Gear Solid series. Most of you are aware of the Metal Gear series, but for those who don't, it's probably best described as a stealth series that has a huge emphasis on cinematic storytelling, interesting themes, and something about nanomachines, son.
Nanomachines, son!
I actually don't know. I still have to play through Metal Gear Revengeance. I just know about it through memes. Metal Gear Solid 3 was released in November 2004 on the PS2. Despite it being the third numbered entry in the Metal Gear Solid series, this is actually the first game chronologically of the series as a whole, which makes it a great entry point for newcomers. At least it would be if Konami would make it easier to be able to play this on modern hardware. Where previous games in the series mainly took place in corridors and enemy bases, Metal Gear Solid 3 is set in 1964, taking place in the jungles of... I'm not pronouncing that.
According to our intelligence, he's in Selino Yask.
Yeah, that place. With the change in environment, one of the new systems introduced in Metal Gear Solid 3 was a stamina bar. It's used to help Snake recover his health faster. However, it's best not to let this gauge drop too low, otherwise Snake's hands start shaking while aiming and his stomach will start growling loudly, alerting nearby enemies. To recover stamina, you gotta eat. But this is the jungle after all, so you have to scavenge your own food, finding whatever flora and fauna you can get your hands on. One of the nice things is that you can store food into your backpack so you can use it later. However, Metal Gear Solid 3 keeps track of your real life time, and over time, the food that's in your backpack will spoil and it's no good to eat. Which was wild the first time I played this, because what this meant was that you couldn't just stockpile food and make the game a cakewalk. You literally had to use it or lose it. I probably wouldn't change the game that drastically if Metal Gear Solid 3 used the health system similar to the previous games, but this change is something that I've really come to appreciate, because ultimately it made me come to one conclusion. What's the point of working for food that's just gonna spoil? Speaking of food, let's jump into a story of the Bible where food was a major topic. In John 6, it starts off with Jesus and disciples traveling, except it wasn't just Jesus and his disciples, but also a crowd of 5,000 following them. Jesus doesn't want them to starve to death, and if you're familiar with the story, one of the disciples brings a boy that has 5 barley leaves and 2 fish to Jesus. Jesus then gives thanks to God and proceeds to multiply the fish and bread to feed the crowd. A hop, skip, and a jump on water later, on the other end is the crowd. And it's pretty evident that they see Jesus as more of a free meal ticket than following him for who he truly is. So then we have verse 26 where Jesus tells the crowd, "Very truly I tell you, you are looking for me not because you saw the signs I performed, but because you ate the loaves and had your fill.
I beg your pardon?
Do not work for food that spoils, but for food that endures to eternal life, which the Son of Man will give you. For on him God the Father has placed his seal of approval." And then he follows up in verse 35 by telling them, "I am the bread of life.
What do you mean by that?
Whoever comes to me will never go hungry. Whoever believes in me will never be thirsty." And then he goes on to tell them that they have to eat his flesh and drink his blood to have eternal life. I'm willing to bet that if those Jews were extremely hungry with Jesus telling them this, they'd be mad ticked. Though, how much you want to bet that someone was hungry enough to consider Jesus' words at that moment at face value? There's so much more to John 6, but I'll let you read that in your own time. The main point that Jesus makes is that the things that sustain us in the moment aren't things that are going to sustain us forever. Just like how food spoils if you don't use it, but you of course need food to keep your stamina up. But food's consumable, it comes and it goes. Honestly, you can replace food in this example with so many other things. The newest gaming console, the shiniest new hardware, the newest game. The list can go on. But those are things that will never satisfy us. Nothing wrong with having them, of course, but those are square pegs meant to fit in square holes, not square pegs meant to fit in heart-shaped holes that only Jesus can fill. Oh my gosh, that's so lame, but I'm keeping it in anyway. That's gonna be it for this video. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Let me know down below if you played the Metal Gear series, which one's your favorite. If you're interested in a non-denominational church, down in the description below will be a link to our church locator. If you're interested in studying the Bible or you just like to hang out, link to my Discord also down below. Once again, I want to thank you guys for watching. Keep an eye out for the next video. Until next time, peace.